Yep. Sure.
All right, I'm gonna start. When you're like making tracks, and then do you like write stuff in a very like studio context and then adapt it for live, or do you write with all of this stuff? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you kind of
Both.
Probably a bit of both, yeah.
Right.
We kind of always changing the workflow, so I mean, sometimes like I'll make a beat, like just a loop, like on the MPC, and then like kind of record it into Ableton and then start adding other stuff. And so like, fling it to Jarrell and go, add some bass on those chords or vice versa. Sometimes I'll get samples and sometimes do it in here, like with a push and like chop up, a cappella or kind of a beat and kind of do it on there. I don't know, it's kind of whatever's kind of going at the moment, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of both work back and forth with each other. Our writing workflow and our live performance workflow. So once we've made a track, then we kind of, I guess, deconstruct it to figure out how we can perform it live, while still keeping the production value high. And then that in turn leaves us with a bunch of kind of instruments and sampler instruments that are based off samples from our existing production. And then we jam it out live, and quite often it turns into something new, like a totally different track that we can then go and write with and then turn into something new.
Anyone in the room got questions? Sure.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the performance, but the TC Helicon, do you have that running through Ableton or is it
Not at the moment, no. It's
straight through the mixer?
That's right. Yeah.
Is there a reason
Why?
you don't have it running through Ableton? Is it just the scariness of it maybe crashing and not having vocals? Or?
Yeah, you know what? That's always a kind of a thought. Yeah, when you've got a laptop on stage. But the vocals kind of, I know typically it's kind of the front person's role, like the voice, but this is more of a sound effect and kind of adds rather than being the focus.
You've got everything that you want in the TC Helicon in terms of
Yeah,
voice, and there's nothing
exactly.
that
Yeah,
adds to it.
yeah. The delays and verbs in it are quite
And
nice.
where do you guys play? Like when you do your live sets, have you got like a venue that you...
All over. We're from Sydney, so mainly I guess we've done a few supports there and kind of a few headliners as well. It's kind of just wherever we kind of get booked.
Yeah,
We've
it's
done
been-
one show in Melbourne, which was a few weeks ago at the Curtin. But yeah, I guess all over.
Yeah, there's no kind of
Whoever wants to
one
give us a
place.
gig, take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you guys get most of your sounds from? Because some of those samples were sounding incredible. Like, is it all just mostly synthesizers and whatever comes in the MPC, or do you guys source some like from sample websites, or what's the go?
It's a bit of everything again. We're big fans of analog synths, so like most of the stuff we use in the studio, like synthwise, I mean, maybe a little bit of soft synths, but kind of probably 90% kind of analog synths, and then drums. A lot of drums are from breaks and kind of records and stuff like that.
Stuff that you've sampled yourself, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask another version of that question about, do you guys use any soft synths to make your sounds, or is it mostly external synths?
Yeah, probably mostly external.
Mostly
I reckon.
external, yeah. I mean, when we're like sound designing, soft synths definitely kind of sometimes a part of the sound. But for live performance, again, being part of the the responsiveness of an actual hardware synth versus like a VST or a plugin, it's hard to match that. So for the live, definitely prefer to use actual hardware.
I think they're handy kind of when like just adding little bits to tracks, but kind of I find for like the thickness of sound, like just kind of building it mainly around like analog stuff just kind of feels better. Also, just like being able to play with stuff, it's kind of
Just wondering, have you ever been in a situation where your hardware's failed just before you've gone on stage, and do you have like a contingency plan or anything like that when that happens?
it's probably happened to you a couple of times recently.
Yeah, and that's really the only time it happens is right before a gig. Something weird goes on. Actual failure, that I think that's happened. Like the computer misbehaving quite often, but a reset usually handles that.
Yeah, it usually crashes just before the gig.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's
I
yeah.
guess the sort of scary thing about having like things run through your laptop and being so reliant on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
on that point, when we kind of first started a live show a couple of years back, we were mainly in the box. Like we used to do more of a sound system style performance where it was, I guess, kind of a dual DJ setup where there was a lot of scenes and clips being triggered and knob twiddling and filtering going on, which is cool. But then we realized that if the computer messes up, that entire performance is done. With Ross, he's pretty safe because I mean the MPC being it's like any other like hardware instrument really, it's pretty reliable. And then these guys are OP1s. Why I dig them so much, being hardware samplers, they're pretty reliable. But until Ableton decides to make the push a standalone device, and still,
It's always good to have like I mean, Joel often has like electric bass on the gig as well. So like
we have backups.
we've got it's kind of like a backup in a way. And I have drums and stuff, so it's kind of there's a few. If all else fails, we can kind of just play instruments as well, which is good.
I'm pretty kind of naive going into tonight in regards to what the link is and that function or whatever is new there, but like in terms of connecting your Abletons, I've had frustrating experiences with like wireless things before. How are you guys doing that? Or are you using Link now? Or
Not at the moment, no.
Yeah.
We are on it, but
I should be on it, but yeah, it's rather we only introduced to it recently, so we haven't integrated it into our live workflow at all. But in the studio recently, we've linked them up and realized that they're kind of cool for our writing workflow, where we can just have two computers like that at the same kind of tempo, and we can do our own thing and add ideas to the mix on the fly, which is where its strength is for us. Yeah. But,
So a question about like you're playing the push like for melodic parts or whatever pretty well. Is that something that, because it's a reasonably young instrument as like a kind of musical interface, is that something that you kind of like took a skill set from another instrument, transferred over, like when you play lots of piano or whatever, or is it something you kind of sat down and tried to learn and figure out?
yeah, totally. It wasn't piano. They don't have come from a piano background. I'd imagine a piano player trying to play chords in this thing would find it quite frustrating.
Yeah.
But the grid layout, after first meeting a push, I quickly realized that I'm a bass player. It's my first instrument. I realized that the grid is just literally like an 8-strung bass with 8 frets. Instantly, shapes were there. It was just a matter of the actual learning the physicality of touching the pads and making it feel good. But it was like, as soon as I made that connection with the bass, it was instantly like the shapes were there. It didn't take long to kind of figure things out. Yeah. So I lucked out really. Before that, I'd struggle kind of trying to play. I love synths, and being a kind of keys player, it was really tough for me. I'd have to labor over kind of getting a sound out of my head. But with this thing, I'm happy. Yeah.
It's given that you do play bass. How do you kind of actually have do you have it set up to scales, or do you?
No, it's just a chromatic. So yeah, it's chromatic mode. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you might.
Want to go on to part 2?
Yeah.
play a few more.
Play some more.